And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit. Like God's property, it's hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. 'Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the
So Daniel prophesies about this 7-year period called the tribulation period. Listen to me, that I believe we are in the final hours of the church age, and what is coming next behind that is the tribulation period. I believe we do not have all this time left before the beginning of the tribulation period. And what Jesus tells us next are the signs of the end of the age that will begin to happen during the tribulation period. Verse 4 through 14, here are the signs. I will give them to you in succession. Okay, the first sign, verse 4, and Jesus answered them, here are the signs of the end time. See that no one leads you astray. For many will come in my name saying, I am the Christ, and they will lead many astray. So the first sign that we're getting closer to the end times is global deception. Now hear me. Because the church would have been raptured, the church would have been gone by this time.
If you are watching this video and millions of people, particularly Christians and all the little children, they disappeared and you were left behind, and the news and your government is trying to say that the aliens invaded us and we need to all come together for world peace, I want you to know that it's all a lie. This video was posted before September 23rd, 2025. The faithful believers, we already knew and prepared for this. We tried to warn everyone about the rapture. That's exactly what happened. Look up what the rapture is online. It's when Jesus comes and takes his faithful bride, his faithful remnant off the earth, and all the little children under the age of accountability. I know this might be a very sad time period right now for anyone who's left behind looking for answers, and it's only going to get worse and a lot darker. I don't want to waste anyone's time. I don't want to carry on too long for no reason. I wanted to make this video very brief. It's about to get a lot worse, but there's still hope, I'm telling you. This is your one last chance to turn away from all other beliefs and surrender your full heart to Jesus Christ. At some point, at this tribulation period, the 7-year tribulation that you're in, is supposed to last 7 years, okay? Jesus warned us that he would come back to collect his church September 23rd, 2025.
On the 23rd, I didn't ask you for your permission, ladies, but can I?
Yes.
Even if you don't know. On the 23rd, I'll be doing a live.
Oh, wow.
Okay? I want to show you what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I'll be doing a live for the whole day. So I will not be doing a live on the 24th because I won't be here on the 24th. So
They can miss you. So if they're left behind on your life, it means they are left behind.
yeah, if you are here on the 24th, let me say on the 23rd and the 24th, you remember was the different time zones.
Yes. Yeah.
So Australia, Asia, that side, they'll be on the 24th. And we, South Africa, I think Africa, Israel, and America will be on the 23rd. So actually, God is going to use both of these days.
So people won't be raptured at the same time?
If you're not ready for the rapture tomorrow, then I don't know what to tell you, because we've been warning you people for a while now. Last night I was able to get rid of my truck. I sold it for $5,000. I have signed over my house to family that I know they don't go to church, so I figured I would leave it to them. My life savings is probably around $60,000. That's what I have in my savings right now. And I'm not going to need it. So up until I go, I'm going to just start giving away my money. So if you guys need some money, go ahead and drop it in the comments, what you need it for. And then drop your Cash App or your Venmo or whatever. And I'm just going to randomly start going through and sending people money.
Well, I wanted to come on here really quickly and remind the pale-skinned people, before Jesus comes back and get you. Do you guys remember the, slavery that happened here on planet Earth? Yeah. So today I heard the words of Jesus, and Jesus Christ came and talked to me today. And Jesus Christ told me that all of the pale-skinned people, in order to be able to reach the gates of heaven, you have to pay the dark-skinned people for all of the things that you've done. So I left all of my information on how you can simply donate to me, in the comment section below. I'm taking any donations. It don't matter if it's a car. It don't matter if it's a house, money. It don't matter what it is. You guys definitely are going to have to pay up for what you did. So if you want to get in the gates of heaven, you better start doing those good deeds now.
He said, but Philip, if all of that is happening during the tribulation, why is this important to us? You know why it's important to you? Because there is an event spoken of by the Apostle Paul in 2 Thessalonians where he says, I don't want you to be ignorant. But the Lord will descend with the voice of a trumpet. The dead will rise to meet him in the air, and those of us who are alive will be, watch his words, caught up to meet him in the air. Theologians call this the rapture of the church. Everybody knows it's going to happen. We just don't know when it's going to happen. We see a prototype of the rapture in the book of Revelation.
When the angels said we have one more left, they must have been talking about one more feast of trumpets, like the seventh trumpet in the book of Revelations. I'm baptized into the Church of God, World Mission Society Church of God. I was baptized this past February, and we celebrate every single feast of God. Like, we celebrated Passover on April 12th, and after Passover is Festival of Unleavened Bread, which we celebrated, then Day of First Fruits, then Pentecost, which is Feast of Weeks, and then it's Feast of Trumpets. All right, then it's Day of Atonement, and then it's Feast of Tabernacles, right? And we celebrate the Feast of Trumpets on September 22nd. So everyone's speaking that Jesus is coming back September 23rd at midnight. And I truly 100% believe that he's coming back. With all this stuff that I've been going through in the spirit, I know Jesus is coming back on the 23rd.
I have tried to record this video like 10 times. I feel like it's time for me to step away from TikTok. I feel like my story is over. I have been so blessed by this, and the Lord has done so much, and I'm so grateful to have been his vessel. And you guys already know, I truly believe with all my heart we will be raptured during Feast of Trumpets this year. If there is some chance that we don't get raptured, I will come back and make an apology video for myself being deceived, and that will be it.
Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur.
Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Let me check my settings before we get started here. Want to say peace and blessings to you guys as we do the countdown, the rapture countdown, right? The 23rd, which is to at midnight, the turn of midnight. We're doing a countdown of the rapture. The rapture, September 23rd countdown. And as you have heard with some of the video clips I shared, there's so many people inside the church that are anticipating on the rapture, being caught up and, in a twinkle of an eye. Right. So it's so much going on, family. And I just wanted to do a special live. I'm going to drop the link inside the comment section. Got some special guests that's going to jump on here. My cousin Benaiah Israel, hopefully some of my other relatives, people I roll with jump on. And I may even just allow some of you guys to jump on and share your thoughts. But we have to keep your comments brief. But we're just going to have some fun with this. I mean, again, this is a reflection of really not understanding scriptures, poor teachings, starting with how Christianity and Catholicism incorrectly teach the scriptures. So it leads to this here. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to have some fun tonight. So I'm going to drop the link in a second here. And then this will give us opportunity as well to kind of explain the proper context. Because, yes, we just celebrated the blowing of the trumpets, right? And I know some are, the days are varying, whether some celebrated it last Shabbat. We celebrated it this Shabbat, right? And especially when you start lining up with the ancient Hebrew calendar, that's a whole nother explanation, a whole nother teaching. And I encourage you guys, if you really want to understand the accuracy of how to determine the feast days and the high holy days and all that stuff, go to the playlist that says foundational. And there's a 3-part lesson that's titled He Rose, but what day? So it just really walks you through how to really reconstruct the Hebrew calendar, but it walks you through far more than just that. But nevertheless, got a lot to cover here. And like I said, going to have some fun with this thing because we are going to be online until 12 midnight. Right. Then we're going to have a special thing going on tomorrow. I'm not going to let the cat out the bag, but, we're going to be online to 12 midnight. And then what I want to do is we're going to come back tomorrow. Right. And I want you guys to share with me your rapture experience. Right. That's whole. We'll get there. We'll get there. But anyway, let me go ahead and drop the link inside the chat here real quick. Let me see here. And matter of fact, let me check my settings first just to make sure my audio is good. All right. My audio is good because sometimes it'll default to my PC mic and the audio can be all over the place. So we got a lot to cover, family, but let me drop the link here. I just had it here. Let me do it real quick. Benaiah and some of you guys that you already know, I'm dropping a link here for you guys to jump on. All right. There we go. All right. All right. So the rapture, September 23rd countdown. That's what we're dealing with tonight, family. That's what we are dealing with tonight. You know, now we got to be real. For those that have grown up in the church, I was in the church. Now, I tell you, especially when you start dealing with the rapture, you know, I feel violated when you start understanding the fullness and proper understanding of that deceptive doctrine. And we'll talk about it here. I got I see my cousin in the back, the back right now. So let me go ahead and bring him to the front here in the backstage right now. So let me bring him in real quick, and we're gonna have some fun with this tonight. All right, Benaiah Israel is in the building. Family, let's show some love for my cousin Benaiah Israel. Peace and blessing, cuz.
Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. Oh man, is it too late to start selling your stuff?
Oh man, we're gonna get into that, man. You're in trouble, man. You come in here swinging, come online swinging.
I just wondering. I mean, just wondering if I could get it. You know how you go to eBay sometimes, you can catch a deal, or Amazon. You know, since people are taking off, just wonder if there's going to be some deals to be had.
Oh man, did you see the clip about the one guy I shared where he said he has $60,000 in his savings account and he's gonna start giving it away, going through his feed and just start giving it away to those that are inside his chat?
Yeah, well, I put my Cash App in the chat just in case he tuned in. You know, so.
And so, and family, I wasn't really following this. My cousin Benaiah brought it to my attention. What was this, about a month ago? And you've done some videos on this as well, about the whole this whole rapture thing. And I, quite honestly, I thought it was kind of hilarious. I'm like, we're still dealing with that type of prophecy in this day and time that we live in. But then at the same time, the proof is in the pudding, right? That doctrine is still running strong. And so September 23rd is supposed to be the big day. Any comments, cuz?
No, it was interesting because you know, a lot of these shows, these TV shows, what was it, Left Behind, and of course there's some cartoon parodies that's been made about, you know, the rapture. And of course, you know, they always paint the people and you know, using their terms, Jesus, in a certain way. Can you imagine if it actually did happen, right? And the Messiah with the afro, dark melanated skin showed up.
Man,
because they be saying, put me down.
Oh man, I see. If I had my hard drive down here, I would upload a video clip that I had when you had the guy, right? It's a clip that I had with the guy. It's a skit, and he's in he's at the altar in the Catholic Church, and he's just praying to Jesus. He's asking, "Hey, I just need an answer," and then Jesus show up with locks, and he's like, "You're not Jesus," you know what I mean?
I'm telling you, because they be saying, "Put me down."
Exactly. Man, and family, you know, it's unfortunate, but that's the truth. You know, this is where I kind of came up with a phrase from one of my teachings titled "Anyone But the Negroes." You know, Christ, the Messiah, you know, Hamashiach, he could look like anyone else but us, right? And many is willing to give up, like you said, give up their salvation, right? Say, hey, look, I don't need all that now. You know, now that I see that he looks like the very people I thought was beneath me, right?
Yep. And they're always saying, well, color doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he's red or blue and green, and they show up black.
Man. Well,
like, hold on now.
And family, you guys know I love playing my little clips here, and I deleted some just so I have enough room to upload some of the Rapture clips. But this is what they'll be chanting. You know, if but when the Messiah do come and they see that he looks like us, they're going to be saying this. This is what Benaiah is alluding to.
It just doesn't
So I got clips of age, right, guys? So so yeah, it's interesting, right? It's just interesting. Oh, excuse me, interesting with everything that's going on. So because but now you've been covering this, and so what are some of the things that stood out with you about this whole this particular uh I would say anticipated day of Rapture, because there's been plenty of them. But what is your thoughts on it, and how, when you first came across this and actually realized that this is actually a real movement, how did it hit you?
Yeah, well, the first thing that I wanted to know is, like, where did it come from? Usually there's a genesis to a movement, and in this case, I was able to, as far as I could tell, it traced back to this brother that's in Africa. Not sure if he's a minister. That's one of the things that people have pointed out online, is like they don't know where he came from. They went back through his feed and his social media history and stuff like that, and it's kind of mysterious that he was out of pocket for a while, but then he pops back in, and then he comes out with this revelation, this prophecy about the rapture that's going to occur tomorrow. And and so for whatever reason, it gained traction, partly because of the current state of affairs, what's going on in the world, all this wars and comets and all, just things all around us, which in my opinion, it made the environment perfect, for that type of doctrine, and it just took off. It just took off, and everyone's, not only did it take hold in the Black community, but also the white evangelicals. They are running with it. They are running with it, which is, like I said, which is interesting, because if that Black Jesus shows up over in the white neighborhood, they're gonna call the police on him. They're gonna call.
Oh man, they have ICE on them, right?
Right.
ICE will be trying to get them kicked out of the country.
Right.
And would it be this clip right here? Because I did share a clip of a guy in Africa stating how he was going to have his live going all day on the 23rd and 24th, because for some of you guys that are following, it'll be the 24th depending on what area of the world you're in. So 23rd to 24th. So that's the window. So this is a guy that is, I'm not sure if he's the person that this comes from. He's the source, but you can tell me if if this is him. I'll play it real quick.
On the 23rd, I didn't ask you for your permission, ladies, but can I?
Yes.
Even if you don't know. On the 23rd, I'll be doing a live.
Oh, wow.
Okay? I want to show you what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I'll be doing a live for the whole day. So I will not be doing a live on the 24th because I won't be here on the 24th. So
they can miss you. So if they're left behind on your live, it means they are left behind.
If you are here on the 24th, let me say on the 23rd and the 24th, you remember was the different time zones?
Yes. Yeah.
So Australia, Asia, that side, they'll be on the 24th. And we, South Africa, I think Africa, Israel, and America will be on the 23rd. So actually, God is going to use both of these days.
So people won't be raptured at the same time?
Sorry about that. I know it went a little longer though than I thought it would. But is that the guy, Benaiah?
That's him. Yeah, I saw somebody else in the chat like, "Oh, that's him. That's him." So it'll be interesting because he's going to be doing a live all day tomorrow. I'm not sure if he's stateside or if he's over in the continent. So it'll be interesting to try to catch his live and of course watch the comments in there, because I'm sure as time ticks by, those comments will become increasingly brutal. So we'll have to wait and see.
Wow, wow. Sister Carol, we see you in the building here. I see you ready to give your testimony about the rapture, your anticipation. We're gonna have some, some boots on the ground coming out of Texas about what's going on with the rapture out there. So what's going on, Sister Carol? How are you?
Excuse me, I was dreaming when I wrote this. Forgive me if I go astray. But when I woke up this morning, could have swore it was Judgment Day. Oh, the sky was all purple. There was people running everywhere, trying to run from that destruction. You know, I didn't even care. Hey, brother, how you doing? I'm over here at the Rapture party in Houston.
I was about to say, you sound like you're doing some, bringing in that New Year's spirit with the
Oh
rapture
yeah, yeah. That's what you do.
celebration.
That's what you do
Like the
during the
like the
Rapture.
old school would say, you sound like you had some spirits in you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, do that. You do that during Rapture. You know, that's the Rapture thing. I got a Rapture theme going on here. So we doing 1999. That's what we doing. Where everybody's dressed in
Yeah,
purple.
you
We went
went
way
you went
back.
way into
You know,
the
because
the
Prince
the, the
told us it was
milk
going to
crates
happen.
right there on that one. I
Yeah,
was like, oh, she going into the milk crates.
that's right. That's right. Because Prince told us. Prince wrote it all out. What was going to happen? Remember, we was waiting for 2000 to happen. So every year we get a Rapture. So this is Rapture 2025.
It's
Wow,
it
wow.
it.
Go ahead, cuz.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and it's fascinating because this year I gotta tell you, they put some thought into this thing. I mean, like for instance, people are saying things like, "Oh yeah, well, make sure you unlock your screen on your phone and all this preparation." So I'm wondering, like, so are they going to stop not drive during the day? Do they plan on just taking like a Uber or Lyft because they don't want that? They don't want the car to just go out of control, right?
Well, they're going to do Uber because the drop bag disappear.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
How about that? Can't do that. Mm-mm.
Well,
No.
and to Benaya's point, there are videos of people just trying to properly plan this out. Like this one guy here, and I'll share it again. But he said he signed his house over. He's gave up all his property. He's about to give away $60,000. I think Benaya put his account in there,
Mhm.
but he said he's giving out all his life savings to those that are inside the chat. You guys know when you start really dealing with this occultic behavior, this comes with the territory. Remember the guys, what was that? The senior citizens, they were rich guys, and it was like they all committed suicide. It was like 40 of them. They had on
Yes.
like sneakers, the same
Yes.
sneakers, the shirt, and
Yep.
it was like a massive suicide of like 40 to 50 of them, and they were like very wealthy people, each one of
Yep.
them. What do you guys think?
Absolutely. It's a cult. I don't even know who the person that even started this particular Rapture this year. I've been trying to find out who that person was, and so far I haven't found him. But yeah, it's just a culted um genre that's going through the air. That's all. It's on all the wavelengths of the internet.
And to your point, and matter of fact, Benaya said confirmed that it's the video that I played of the guy, the pastor over in Africa, that actually, he's the originator. He's the origin of where all of this kind of just sprouted from. Benaya, any comments?
Yeah, I think his name was Joshua. I'm not sure if it's
Oh,
Pastor Joshua.
Joshua.
Yeah, Pastor
Yes.
Joshua, Minister Joshua. But yeah. But to your point, Sister Carol, it's like so I think that it is a culmination of just having back to back to back to back to back years of
Mm-hmm.
just tragedy and epic things happen. Like, of course we had the COVID, and you had the wars, and you had
Right.
George Floyd, and I mean just back to back to back unrest, turmoil around the world. People are saying that, oh man, something's going on. Something's this crescendo is about to occur.
Correct.
And according to my doctrine, or according to the doctrine that the pastor on Sunday mornings preaching, we're supposed to be out of here. So enter in Joshua with this rapture doctrine, and of course they'll jump on it.
And especially with the event that happened on the 10th. So
Yeah,
they're really
yeah,
riding the wave of that
yeah.
because they're saying that he died for everybody's sins. So that goes right along with the whole genre.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
but this actually was even well before that. As far
So
as
it was.
because Benaiah started reporting on this. What was it? You started doing videos on this about 2 months ago, right, Benaiah?
Yeah, I forgot that the start time, but yeah, it's been out there for a while. It's been steady gathering storm clouds.
Wow, wow, unbelievable. The stuff that many still struggle with. And what's interesting is Christianity, they don't celebrate feast days. Catholicism, they don't celebrate feast days. But then they take the blowing of the trumpets and they take that text, of course, way out of context.
Right.
Even though the Messiah said, no man knows the day nor the hour, not even himself. He don't even know.
Right. But
And
they
yet
know.
we still have this stuff, these type of events that occurs and during certain periods of time, and even just to go back to what you pointed out, Sister Carol, when you start seeing these type of prophecies kind of sprout up, is during major events. Whether it's a death, whether it's a war, especially if something happened in Israel, man, it's like there's always some type of end time prophecy that just comes to the surface. Any thoughts?
Absolutely. It never fails. If anything happens over there, if we have an eclipse situation and it's over their particular country, that's a sign that a rapture is coming. I've heard that before. So yeah, any kind of end sign they believe is the end sign, they call it rapture time, and it happens every year around this about this time period. If you think about it, it's always around the Feast of Trumpet.
Yeah.
Wow. Any thoughts, Benai?
Oh, I was going to say, you actually played a video of a brother who said that he was observing the Feast of Trumpets, and he observed Passover, and he observed, he named about like 2 other feasts, and I'm like, oh, so he's going like full Hebrew, full Israelite, and yeah. I mean, I think to your point, I think that's probably one, to me, it's like one of the funniest things, was because the truck banged so hard on what they call black Hebrew Israelites. Like they try to, whenever they say that, they always got to string out the term. But they bang so hard on it. But then when it comes to one of the most important days of their religion, the rapture, they got to go back to that old book in the Bible. They got to go back to that Old Testament. Law, statutes, and commandments. Crack open that Deuteronomy, Leviticus. Find those laws. Find the feast days to try to make heads or tails of it.
Oh,
and that's what's really interesting, is just that in the church, even though that particular individual, he apparently, like you said, one of the clips that I played, he honors feast days, but you can still hear the Christian Catholic eschatology variant of eschatology. And especially when you read the scriptures, and it's clear that no one know when this is going to occur. Now, I just did a teaching on the feast of the blowing of the trumpets, and of course highlighting Matthew 24, and highlighting that there's 3 periods of mourning that you'll find inside that passage. The beginning of sorrows, or which is that the time of Jerusalem, far as when the Romans invaded and sacked Jerusalem, and then you have the Great Tribulation, which that's now you have the Israelites scattered, right? That's outside of Jerusalem now, fleeing. But now this is where you get to that period of like the transatlantic world war, the Arabic slave trade, the India slave trade, all of that in this period. And then fast forwarding to the Yah's people being scattered to the 4 corners because of these different wars, these agendas towards our people. But nevertheless, then you transition, And but now I know we covered this a little more than a year ago when we dealt with that solar eclipse. That had a lot with that, and if you want, you could reflect on that as well. But the scripture even talks about after the tribulations, that there was going to be a mourning, right? Now, in that text, right, the Greek word, I can't remember the Greek word. What is it? Crypto. I can't remember the name of the Greek word, but that word mourning is not really an accurate transliteration. Actually, saying that Israel, the tribes scattered all around the world, they would start what? Cutting themselves off, disappointed, ashamed. And so when you hear those words associated with that text, it takes you to Ezekiel 37, right? When you start dealing with the Israelites there being what? Cut off, right? Being the bones being very dry. In other words, confused. Basically echoing the same sentiments there. So you see that happening, but it said we'll see signs of its return. But then nevertheless, you see how this Christian Catholic eschatology, began to take that, and now this is combining with this rapture doctrine. This is what it's producing right here. Any thoughts?
I totally agree. I absolutely agree with you. And I don't believe people really understand what those scriptures that you just quoted mean. And they're misconstrued, which is why we have the mindset that's going on now.
Yeah, and the hypocrisy is like on a whole different level. Because, as you were speaking, Pastor Kelly, I was kind of writing out some thoughts. It's like, first of all, they replaced Israel in their doctrine, because there's the whole replacement theology. Like, oh, no, well, we know those people aren't over there aren't Israel because they're doing X, Y, and Z, and they're doing evil stuff. And so there's no way, no how that they could be Israel. But then, of course, the logical follow-up question to that was, well, then who is Israel? And, they don't come over in our direction. So now that their answer is, oh, we're Israel. The church is Israel, right? So replacement theology 101. Then, of course, in their doctrine, they take out the importance of the Old Testament. It's all about the New Testament. I've even seen places where they had Bibles where the Old Testament was totally removed completely. And actually, I was blessed to hang out with Pastor Majors, Bishop Majors with Boone Church, and I did a lesson on there about Israel. And one of the graphs I showed, I asked people, it's like, how many times is the name Israel in the scriptures? And it was like, something like 2,000, say 2,500 times it's in the scriptures. But then when I showed a chart to show where it was in the scriptures, like per book, like in each of the books. And what you showed when you looked at it on the graph, one of the easiest things that you could see was that Israel was found mostly, for the most part, in the Old Testament. It was found in the New Testament to a lesser degree, like 60 times, but for the most part, most of those occurrences occurred in the Old Testament. And then compound that with the fact that when we were in slavery, we were given the slave Bible. That slave Bible had the 90% of the Old Testament removed. Again, that's that thing where they're trying to remove Israel, from the Bible. It says the name of Israel, so that the name of Israel will be no more remembered. Psalms 83, that sort of thing. But I guess where I'm going with this is that these are like the list of hypocrisies that they've done to get to this point. Remember, replace Israel. They do away with the Old Testament. They ignore, number 3, they ignore the prophecy of Israel being regathered. That was spoken of from the very beginning. They persecuted Israel in history. I think, Pastor Kelly, you spoke about this many times about the transatlantic world war. That was against Israel. And in many cases, it wasn't something that they didn't know it was Israel. They knew it was Israel. They literally put it in their laws. That's what the Inquisition was all about. They put it in their laws. And then they replaced the Messiah. The Pope was called the Vicar of Christ, the replacement of Christ. So they replaced the Messiah. So that's what I'm saying. I got a little list going on here. But I'm just saying there's so much hypocrisy about them being raptured. They've done all this stuff, and then they're gonna be raptured. It's like, oh, come on now. We got to get some stuff straight before we even talk about you getting caught up and taken someplace, so that you don't have to deal with what you've done, that you don't have to deal with you unaliving all of the children of Israel. You don't have to deal with all the sons of Jacob, that you've laid on the ground, that you made belts out of their skin, that you made shoes out of their skin, that they cut off body parts and made food out of it and ate it, that they've raped and maimed, all that stuff. And they still, to this day, Pastor Kelly, have not given a dime of reparations. They're giving out cash because they think they're not going to be here, but they didn't. How about putting that into a reparation package? So I'm sorry. I know I'm going, Pastor Kelly. I'm just saying, it's just so much to this thing, man.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. You're good. That's the whole purpose of having this discussion here. Just to really address some of the things that have contributed to the lies, to even just our interpretation of the prophecies. Because to your point, the delusion is the perpetrators have manipulated us so bad to where now they are on the same side as the good side of the judgment. Right? This deception, family, is so, it's so bad, that many don't even understand the depth of this deception. Right? And I'll share, when I was in Kojic, we had, and I know some of you guys that are former Kojic people, the Church of God in Christ, they have what is called the Rapture practice. And so it could be any time of the service, any part of the service, regardless, you have to be ready. Anytime, it could be right after the offering, whatever the case may be, at any point of the service, if someone screamed out Rapture practice, everyone would stop what they're doing and just start shouting and screaming out hallelujah. Right? But when you start understanding and unpacking truly what rapture is, right? Because Paul didn't teach a rapture doctrine, the Messiah, and we could touch on some of that today. We may touch on a little bit of it tonight, but all of that is that's like a 17th century doctrine, right? That began its conception, but when you understand that word rapture, right? When you understand it means rape, it means kidnap. And when we think about it from us as a community, we're the only community that went through the atrocities that we went through. Right? I'm going to say this again. Paul did not teach rapture. Rapture is because I see some trolls. Paul did not teach rapture. And I'll challenge you or anyone that says that he did. He didn't teach rapture. That's a 17th century teaching. All right. And I can prove that. Okay. But which I will. But nevertheless, with that being said, that contributes to it. That Paul did not teach a rapture. The ancient Israelites did not teach a rapture. They did not teach that all of a sudden. Well, we'll get into it. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but that's part of the problem, is that instead of just especially when we came from out of that Christian Catholic doctrine, saying, you know what, let me learn the text free from the influence of the people that enslaved us. Let's start processing history different. And Benaiah, I got a lot of flack in this awakening. Sister Carol, you know this as well. But I'm like, wait a minute. The transatlantic World War, even though they say slave trade, World War is documented as a war by the Roman Catholic Church. How is that just bypass? How do we bypass a period when we take that with the Arabic slave trade, the transatlantic world war? Actually, I call it all wars. The Indian slave trade, all of that is still part of the same period, from like the 5th century, 4th, 5th century, where our brothers fled from Israel and went over to India. And at that time, India was East Ethiopia, right? Fled to India. And then during the Spanish Inquisition, guess who showed up? The 1948ers. And they brought that hatred there, and the rest is history. But how do you have anywhere from 100 to 150 million people, Negroes, that was raped, kidnapped, murdered, enslaved, and you just treat that as if it was nothing, like it's a blip in history? That's not even mentioning King Leopold. That's not even mentioning the stuff with the, South Africa with the diamond mines, the 10 million plus people that was murdered there. So how do we just take all of that history and then sweep it under the rug? And then now, according to many within the church, they're waiting for the Great Tribulation to happen.
It's crazy.
Any thoughts?
That's what they want us to believe. That's how they want us to act. That's the way of controlling us. Just think all this what you just mentioned was all about control and deceiving and keeping us from understanding our purpose and role on this earth. And that rapture that happened to our ancestors that got us in the position where we are now in an oppressive state is how they have us begging to leave here. Just think about it. They oppressed us, they enslaved us, and the only thing we want to do was get out of here. So that rapture mentality has been in our brain since slavery. Because what did our people do? They shouted out to Yah, they want to leave here and go to the heavenly place.
And family, I have a source here, because we don't like, when we woke now, we don't like to just mention stuff just to be mentioning it. And then Benaiah, if you want to talk a little bit about the solar eclipse that occurred last Passover, not this past Passover of last year, and how that was so a kind of like a paradigm shift with understanding what occurred. Because one thing, family, if you read the scriptures make it clear that Shabbat, the feast days and the 7th-day Shabbat, those are signs, right? And when we understand that those are signs, then you could better understand what's going on. But you cannot say that you understand these things if you don't completely empty yourself out of the Christian Catholic doctrine. Actually, I'll just add Judaism with that too. All these Abrahamic faiths, you got to completely empty yourself out of this and pretty much start from scratch. So on the screen here, look at the word rapture. It says act of carrying off, seizure, rape, kidnapping, a carrying off, abduction, snatching away, rape. Now, did we not go through this as a people?
Yes.
If you want to just use this word in that, from that perspective, we got raptured. we went through over well over 1,000 years of being raptured. And so this is where we got to we got to unpack, we got to let go of all this junk doctrine. Now, I know you guys see on my screen what I'm trying to pull up here. I was trying to pull up some, just talk to you guys a little bit, but I'm gonna let Benaiah get in with the if you want to touch on the what we mentioned about this the solar eclipse, and then I'll touch on this here. We'll touch on a few things.
Okay, and also to follow up on what Sister Carol was talking about too. When our forefathers were enslaved, working in those cotton fields or sugar plantations, and they were singing those. I guess they call them slave songs, slave
Negro spirituals,
Negro spirituals,
spirituals.
and they're synonymous with our people. You start singing them, and that people, what comes to people's remembrance is slavery, is that hard labor, brutal work. And one of those Negro spirituals was swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. That's the rapture from our ancestors' perspective. That's the rapture that they were looking for when they were out being whipped and beaten and working in those fields. That's the rapture that they were looking for. And to Pastor Kelly's point about the solar eclipse, and it's funny how everything, like when they want to understand the signs of the times and what's going on, they always go back to that Old Testament. As much as they talk dirt about it and kick rocks against it, they always go back to the Old Testament. And and like Pastor Kelly was saying, when we were talking about the the eclipse, I believe it was in 2017 and 2024, I believe is when it occurred. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's when the solar eclipse. You had a solar eclipse that started off in Salem, Oregon, and then crossed all the way down to Charleston, South Carolina. Shout out to Brother Godfrey in Charleston, South Carolina. And so that was one of the X's, right? Or one of the lines of the X. And then the other one started off at this place in Texas called Eagles Pass. Eagles Pass. And that was a location that was synonymous with our people going to freedom, like slaves that were over in the States trying to escape over to Mexico for freedom. That's where the solar eclipse crossed into the state, and then it crossed all the way up, and then it intersected with the other previous mark that started off in Oregon and went down to Charleston, South Carolina. It intersected at a place called Egypt, Little Egypt, of all places, Little Egypt. And then it went all the way up to, the far right-hand corner of the nation. And I believe the last city or town that it crossed over from as it went into Canada was a place called Mars Hill. And Mars Hill is in the scriptures. And that was a part in the scriptures where the Apostle Paul was talking about, he was imploring to Israel to turn back to the law, statutes, and commandments. Like that was the thing, that the message of Mars Hill. So, and then those solar eclipses made that mark, and that mark is a Hebrew letter Tav, right? And so it made that mark. And then of course, when you saw, I guess one of the things that I got tickled about too was even back then when they were trying to figure out, all right, what does this all mean? We know this is an ominous foreboding, but we don't know what, we don't know what it means. But they turned back to the Old Testament. They started pulling out Hebrew letters, right? And they was like, oh, well, Tav is, it also means 400. Of course, it meant 400, and of course that was right after our 400 year anniversary in 2019, following on the heels of that, and and that was just kind of like the beginning of them, using Old Testament to try to unravel prophecy. But again, if you don't know who the people of the book are, if you don't know who the true children of Israel are or is, you're going to get prophecy backwards, turned upside down, and confused, which is where they are today. It's crazy.
All right. So, and I appreciate you guys for bringing up that information, because that's important, family, and make a note of what he just pointed out. All right, and we're going to share some history. We got 45 minutes. We're 13 minutes past the hour, so we got 47 minutes before we get down to the countdown. And bring in the Rapture day.
We're doing we're doing Eastern time Rapture. Okay.
We're going Eastern time. Some may
Make
have
sure you
already
sit down.
left by then.
Make sure you're seated.
So
if
some
you're
may have
driving,
left already by then. But this is what I want to point out, family. Like the word rapture. The word rapture, and I'll just highlight it here. Let me back it up a little bit. And this is going to give you some information. Right? Let me stretch the screen out, and then just so that way you guys will be properly educated on the rapture. The word rapture predates the doctrine, but not in the sense of a pre-tribulation escape. Its earliest English use was closer to mystical ecstasy or spiritual rapture, not a bodily disappearance before tribulation. All right. In the 1600s, rapture appears in the English literature used in poetry, mysticism, Catholic writings to mean being caught up in worship. The late 1600s to the 1700s, some Puritans and mystics began interpreting caught up in First Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 17 more literally, but still post tribulational. All right. So when we get to the 1700s, Lacunza, excuse me if I butcher his name, discusses the Messiah's coming in two phases, but not a secret rapture. Okay. This is where you start seeing the development of what you see the rapture doctrine of today and all this pre-tribulation and all that other stuff. So this is the key. In the 1830s, John Nelson Darby formalizes the idea of a pre-tribulation rapture using the earlier rapture language, but applying it in a new theological context. In 1909, the Scofield Reference Bible cements this doctrine into American Protestantism with footnotes promoting a secret rapture before the tribulation. So the word rapture predates the doctrine, but the modern pre-tribulation rapture teachings is a 19th century invention. Its adoption of this older word helped disguise its newness, making it appear as though it had always existed in Scripture. All right. So a couple of points here. The word rapture was retrofitted into a new theological system. And that's what we see happening today. Words are created today, and then it's backdated. They use terms of today to basically time travel and rewrite the scriptures, rewrite our understanding of the text, like the word Talmud, like the word Mishnah, like the word, I could give you a number of words, like the word church, like the word Jew, like the word Gentile, right? Changing the meaning or creating words or taking words and adding meaning to it and then backdating it and give you this impression as if this is an ancient belief, you know, like our ancient people of the book, like they were using these terms, which they were not using these terms. But this is how you create a narrative and create what is called, they call it theology, which really all it is just Christian Catholic philosophies. So when we look at the word rapture, I see someone in the back. I'm gonna bring her in real quick so she don't wait there. Let me see here. All right. All right. Just bring you in here. We'll bring you here in a second. I'm just gonna go over something, then I'll open it up for any comments that you have. Okay, sis. Appreciate you for your patience. All right. So the word rapture was retrofitted into a new theological system. All right. The original Hebraic worldview never used or taught a rapture in the sense of removal before affliction. The concept of the righteous being taken up was always associated with resurrection at the return of the Messiah, not a prejudgment escape. So what's the supporting doctrine used in the rapture deceptive doctrine? Well, I'm glad you guys asked. They go to Matthew 24, verse 29 through 31. This is what I highlighted, right? Most of the people in the church, actually, we could easily say 90% of them don't honor feast days, because there are, believe it or not, when this country, before it became the United States or the colonies or whatever, earlier on, rather, during the colonies, rather, there was a Baptist church that practiced honoring Shabbat. They didn't do the Christmas thing, but they practiced and honored the seventh day Shabbat. But I don't have the information in front of me. But anyway, this is what it's being taken out of context. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened. Now, remember what I said, family. You know, many teach that we getting ready to go into the great tribulation. Which one is it? Right? But immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened. And this is what Benaiah touched on, especially when we start understanding a major solar eclipse that took place last year during Passover. It was Passover, right, Benaiah? Was it Passover or was it
Yeah.
first fruits?
First fruits. Yeah. It was later on.
Okay. All
I'm not
right.
sure.
So look at
Yeah.
here.
Same period of
Immediately.
time though.
Okay. So immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the Son of Man of heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And then this is where you see verse 31. And he shall send his angel with a great sound of a what? Trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. This is Israel.
Oh, I was getting ready to ask you.
This is Israel, family. Where it says, then shall all the tribes, this is dealing with Israel right here. Not this church thing. This is dealing with Israel, starting with Israel. The Messiah made it clear he came to bring salvation to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That's it. That's his own words in Matthew 15. When he sent his disciples out, when he was training them in Matthew 10, he said, don't go anywhere but to your people. I'm just paraphrasing. He said, don't go to anywhere but to the Israelites. So salvation starts with Israel, not the stuff we see with the 1948ers. No, not that. Nah,
Right.
This Israel. So this is what is taken out of context. But this is after the Great Tribulation. Because again, remember, we just went through what, the 400-year prophecy. That was a big thing. The United States even have a 400-year prophecy grants that it was given out for those that was teaching the 400-year prophecies if they would have applied for it in 2019. So this right here, it says, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. So we're going to see the signs. But guess what? We're going to also deal with a type of affliction that's going to cause us to want to cut ourselves off. And I'm going to bring that word up here in a second here, because I don't have it in this presentation, just so you guys can understand this, that the seriousness of this and how powerful this is, because this ties right into Ezekiel 37. We are cut off. We are lost. Our hope is lost, and we are cut off from our parts. Are we not feeling that way as a people?
Yes.
We said we're not participating in none of this stuff anymore. We're not participating with the Democrat foolishness, the Republican foolishness, the independent foolishness. We're not dealing with none of that. They looking for us. Where are we? How come we're not marching with them? No, we're sitting this out. We done with those type of marchings. We done with being thrown up under the bus. We're done with being used as a rally cry. We're tired of that. So this, and I'm going to prove it to you, that what mourn mean, it doesn't just mean like we just sitting here, crying, lamenting. This also means that we're cutting ourselves off. And I'm going to prove that in a second. But let me just share one last thought here before I pull it up. This is some of the passages that they use. I pray, John 17:15. Now, this is the one that they don't put up there. I'll put this up there purposely to prove that is dealing with Israel, because it's hard for people to see in the church that the Messiah wasn't generic like Catholicism and Christian now, which is synonymous to that. The Messiah didn't pray for everyone. In this scripture, look at what he says. I pray not that thou shouldest take them out of the world, but that thou shouldest keep them from evil. Now, that's also telling us that the Messiah is making it clear he's not praying for us to what? Be taken out of the affliction. See, when you hear these people teaching rapture doctrine, They're teaching that before these afflictions come, guess what? God is gonna pull his people out. Israel always had to go through the affliction. The book of Judges is affliction after affliction after affliction. Even when Christ is talking to his disciples in Matthew 24 about the time of sorrow, he was dealing with his disciples. He even told them, and I believe chapter 13 or 14, when he told them that, hey, they're going to kick you out of out of the places of worship. You'll see the word synagogue there, but they're going to kick you out of the mashkan and think that they're doing the will of the Father. They said they're going to kill you thinking that they're doing the will of the Father. So they already were told that they were going to go through affliction. That right there just knocks down that whole rapture, snatched away doctrine, because guess what? Israel always had to go through affliction before they were what? Rescued. Every captivity, they had to what? Endure the affliction. But the key, there was a remnant that made it through it. All right. So that's what this passage here is showing, that we still had to go through an affliction. But when you also read this chapter, you'll see that the Messiah didn't pray for everyone. He said that he prayed only for those that belong to him. I'm not going to get into the Second Thessalonians. These are some of the other passages, but I just want to get to another point real quick. Matter of fact, I'll let you guys speak. Let me go ahead and bring this in real quick, because I did say I want to bring in that word mourn, so that way the people get a proper we get the proper context of that word mourn. Any comments, guys, as I continue? Matter of fact, I see the sister that we just brought in, and forgive me, blame it on Sister Carol if I mispronounce your name. Is it Eleanor? If you're speaking, unmute your mic.
Hello,
How are you? How are you?
Pastor Kelly. Hello, brethren. Shalom. This is
How are
your
you?
Igbo. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
That's good.
It's
That's
nice
good.
that you have a stream yard. I've missed your life a long time. How you doing, Pastor Kelly?
Doing great. Doing great. How are you?
Fine.
That's
I
good. What are your
saw
thoughts
that
on what we shared thus far?
the countdown
Yeah. What are your thoughts about this rapture stuff going on?
is a lie. But we will not let them know it's a lie. But I hope I'm part of those who get whatever they sell. I'm ready to buy, like Pastor Ben, your cousin. Yes, it's your Igbo sister in America, yes. The children of the Most High, don't worry about these things, because when He takes us, He doesn't let anyone know. That is His beautiful thoughts for us. They will never know. So I don't know about Pastor Joshua in my Africa that is talking about rapture. Did he consult me, the Igbo? Mm-mm. He lying. I hope he's not one of those that they order to wear high heels on the pulpit, because I see a lot of them wearing heels with the NGOs LGBTQ plus NY, whatever they wear. But I hope they understand that Yehoshua is not a talkative. I may not be savvy in quoting the Bible as you do, but one thing I know from the teachings of my grandparents and my great grandparents, as a first daughter, they instill a lot in us. They let us know we are the people they are talking about in that book, the Bible. They tell us what days are the Sabbath and what days are not. They tell us when to seek the face of the Lord and when not to. We all know this because it is written in our DNA. For my forefathers, we kept it secret because the little we let them know, they use it to spread lies about us. My ancestry DNA has connected me to the E1BAs. My cousins, I've spoken with many of them, lots of them. I know some that are related to you, Pastor Kelly, that you've not, you don't know about, but I will talk to you on email about them. Some of them are jailed by those who claim that they are us and are not. They are there. It's on YouTube. They show them, they come and tell us about a lot of things. But you see this rapture? If I see any of one of them making noise about rapture and they are not raptured tomorrow, in my place we call it in Concora, I want to get the stick to flog them tomorrow because they quote Yehoshua when he didn't say. And I thank God for people like you, Pastor Kelly, who stands on the truth, who let us know who we are, who help people understand the givings of our Most High. And Yahushua will always keep us safe in His grace. Thank you so much. That's all I gotta say. I'm glad to speak with you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, sister. Anytime, jump on, okay? And family, we got this link out there for you guys that are watching that you want to jump on and share your thoughts. But appreciate it, my sister. Thank you for blessing us. You know, our Igbo sister, hallelujah. Hallelujah. That's right. Igbo, that's in the DNA. That
It
came
is
up on
in
my
my
result.
blood. In my place, we say the DNA never lies. We
That's
say
right.
the blood will always seek after their own. And my blood found my people. Here that was taken in what I don't call it slave trade. It wasn't a slave. Nobody was born a slave in their homeland. It was a malicious human trafficking. Malicious because there was an attempt to obscure the truth about those that are the creation of the creator. I'm not talking about those that, mutilated,
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about the first. We are the first. It is encoded. 40% of my DNA they can't even find. They should stop looking anyway. They can't.
Absolutely. That's right.
They
We say
can't
they need
find
to
it.
stop looking anyway. That's right. That's right.
Thank you,
That's
Pastor
right.
Kelly. May
Thank you, my
Yahusha keep
sister.
you strong in his strength.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Appreciate you, my sister. Appreciate you.
Thank you
And
so
send
much.
our love over there, okay?
Yes, my
All
Lemba
right.
people. I will tell you more
Hallelujah.
about you, about us later.
All right. All right. Now, family, I have it up on the screen here. That word "copto," which what I made reference to, and look at what it means. It says to chop, especially to beat the breast in grief. Beat the breast in grief. That means that we're saying we coming off this milk. We coming off this milk. We coming off this doctrine. We coming off this dependency. We're breaking our dependency of these nations that have purposely created these systems to have it so that way we are dependent on them. The third Hebrew letter of the Hebrew Aleph is the Gamma, which means maturity. We're saying, you know what? We learned our lesson. Now enough is enough. We are what? As it says here, to chop, especially to beat the breast in grief, cut down, lament, mourn, wail, be well. But look at here, to cut, strike, to cut from, cut off. See, it's more than what we just been led to believe. We're saying enough is enough. With all these different things that's going on, the Most High has sometimes have to put things in our path to force us to what? Separate. Because sometimes we just don't want to separate from certain things because we invested so much in it. That's why many don't want to leave these deceptive doctrines alone because they spent so much money, they invested so much money in the delusion. That's why it's so hard for many to say, you know what, I'm going to cut off Christmas. I'm going to cut off Easter. I'm going to cut off eating the pork. I'm going to cut off eating the swine because they are heavily invested in that stuff. And they still in this spirit of wanting to get their money's worth. So we see here cut off. It says beat the breast in grief. Any comments, guys? One last point I want to make, and then I'll let you guys loose as we count down to 12 midnight. Any comments?
No, you right on the money. Keep right on going.
There you go.
You good, Benaiah?
Yeah. No, I'll wait till you get to a good break, Pastor Kelly.
Okay. One point I want to make, guys. One last point I want to make. I want to touch on the remnant real quick. I want to touch with the left behind, right? Because the rapture doctrine teach against being left behind. We already proved with the Messiah, his teachings never taught that we were not going to go through affliction. If anything, we quote it all the time in the church, endure hardness as a what? Good soldier. But suddenly we think that we don't have to go through anything. Right? Like that old song, I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me. No one told me that the road was going to be easy. Remember those old songs? But yet we think it's going to be easy. Right? So the rapture doctrine teach against being left behind. How many of you guys done saw that movie Left Behind? How many, and what's so ironic, right? Within that movie, it stood out to me when I watched that movie. You had the brother man at the altar who was a priest who was left behind, and he was angry. I didn't put the clip in here. Why? Because you know how they with the censorship, right? But he was angry. Remember, he threw the ball at the altar, the whole nine. He was mad for being what? Left behind. You even had TD Jakes on the television. Oh, if you watching this video, that means that you've been left behind.
Yeah, I remember that.
Find the answers, but the answer is that God has already moved.
Yep. Yeah.
So that is an absolute lie. Real quick, let me show you guys what the left behind means biblically, the true left behind. Guess what? We're supposed to be celebrating that we left behind,
Exactly.
not being angry for being left behind. This is the manipulation. The Hebrew word for that transliterates to the word left behind, right? Sha'ar. Let me show this real quick. Sha'ar, which transliterates to the word remnant. But look at what it says. Sha'ar, look at this, a reminder or residue, surviving portion or surviving final portion. All right. And it goes on to say remnant, residue, rest. So guess what, family? When we say that we are the remnant, we're saying that we are the left behind. We are saying that we are the surviving portion. And when we go to the primitive root word of the word I just mentioned here, sha'ar, look at what it says. Redundant. But look at here, be left behind. So why we all messed up? Why we messed up? Because they purposely want us to forfeit our place with the Most High by not wanting to be the remnant. So anytime they did these movies of being left behind, and they got us tricked into thinking that, no, we got to be raptured. I don't want to be left behind. They taught us a deceptive doctrine of forfeiting our rights of being the remnant. We are the remnant. We are the surviving portion. We're the ones that endured captivity after captivity. Even the prophet Jeremiah had to say, is this what we are made for? To be slaves to other nations? I'm paraphrasing in Jeremiah chapter 2. We've been through captivity after captivity after captivity. And look at what's happening right now with the shooting that took place a little more than a week ago by Caucasian on Caucasian crime. Yet we have the HBCU schools having death threats. We have hangings that occurred since then. We even have a serial killer out in Houston. All kinds of things that are happening based upon internal conflict with the very people that have enslaved us. So, family, we are that left behind. We are that surviving portion. You already see here, who is the remnant? How important is the remnant? Look at what Joel say about the remnant. For, as our sister pointed out about our blood, man, don't get caught up with if you see some other nations within your DNA. Why? Because the Most High understand, as he laid out in Joel chapter 3, that we've been raped by every nation. We've been raped. We've been sold to every nation within this world. We were scattered abroad. But look at the promise that he made to us. Egypt shall be a desolation. Edom shall be a desolate wilderness for the violence against the children of Yahweh, Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. Verse 20, but Judah, Yahweh, shall dwell forever. In Jerusalem, which is the heart of Israel, Yahweh Shalom, from generation to generation, for I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for Yahweh dwelleth in Zion. The Most High made a promise to us. See where it says Judah, right? That's the southern kingdom, and it consists of the Benjamites, Judah, also the Levites. But when we get to Jerusalem here, that's the remnant. That's of all 12 tribes, right? But he said he's going to do a blood transfusion to make sure that we remain forever. Here's another quick prophecy real quick. 2 Kings chapter 19, verse 30. Look at this here. Let me go back here. And the remnant that is escaped out of the house of Yahweh, Judah, shall yet again take root downward and bear fruit upward. That's a promise he made to us. For out of Yahweh Shalom, that's Jerusalem, shall go forth what? The remnant. We're dealing with the remnant again, the surviving portion. And in Jerusalem, that's where all 12 tribes dwell. So anyone that tells you that the northern kingdom got completely dissolved, right? That is an absolute lie. The remnant of all tribes always occupied Jerusalem, right? Even when they were scattered. But anyway, they stayed together. Even the Igbo, they have a testimony saying they consist of all the tribes, even though I'm not going to get into it. Let me leave that alone. That's a whole nother discussion. Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews? Anyway, and they that escaped out of Mount Zion, the zeal of Yahweh of hosts shall do this. So here's the last point I want to make with the left behind. Look at what the Messiah said about being left behind. Matthew 20, verse 15 and 16. Is it not lawful for me to do what I will with mine own? Is thine eye evil because I am good? So the last Akar Rayath shall be first Akkad, and the first Akkad shall be last Akar Rayath. For many be called, but few are chosen. Now look at what this word means here. We see Sha'ar, but we're going to deal with this other word here. I didn't put it in here. I thought I had it in there. But nevertheless, this word Akarayath, it means remnant. It means left behind. The first shall be last and the last shall be first. Guess what? This is dealing with the remnant. Any comments, guys? I know I kind of rushed through that part, just trying to bring home that point about the remnant. Any comments, guys? Any thoughts? I know, Benai, you was revved up there.
Oh, I was gonna say, go ahead, Sister Carol, before I go.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I mean it's so much information. I mean, so much information, and actually, you talked about it too, Pastor Kelly. It's like, and we said it multiple times, and we, over and over again. It's like if you get the children of Israel wrong, everything's going to be messed up. It's going to be messed up. And I mean, all the way from, all the prophecies, all the interpretations of Matthew, and I like what, how you spoke about it probably like about 20 or 30 minutes ago, Pastor Kelly, where you was talking about how, that scripture that people use when looking at the rapture or, to justify the rapture, it's talking about Israel. Mm-hmm. It's literally talking about Israel, family. And I mean, in the I hate to say it this way, but it's like the Christian church, I think they suffer from a lack of understanding history. Like this image of the church today, it's compared to what it actually did, it's night and day. And I guess what I mean by that is that let's say, for instance, like we were talking about, we saw a brother and he was saying that. So yeah, I observed the Feast of Tabernacle or the Feast of Trumpets, and I've observed Passover, observed all of this. And most of the church don't know, and this will just be my guess. Most of the church people don't know the history that the church actually forbid, observing Passover. They forbid observing Passover, the same feast, holy day that the Messiah, that the apostles, people in the scriptures observe. They forbid it. You can only do the stuff that the Pope ordained, his holy days, his feast days. They forbid, they forbid, trumpets. You couldn't do no trumpets, family. None of that stuff. You couldn't observe the Sabbath. You couldn't, get together on the Shabbat. That was outlawed. And it wasn't one of those things where, you know, you just, if they caught you doing it, you know, they would give you a slap on the wrist, or maybe they'd lock you up for a little bit. No. In fact, what they would do is that they would take you either to one or two places. They either would take you to the church, or they would take you to the city square, and they would burn you on church on Sunday. And it would be part of a sermon. It wasn't as though they would bring you in there and they would burn you. No, it was a whole sermon. It was a whole ceremony, right? And of course, this is one of the things that we have talked about, many times over these years. But this is the history of the church. And then another one of the things that people talk about is, it's like, man, this gospel is going to go from one end of the earth all the way to the other. And it's amazing the way. I used to think about this, Pastor Kelly, because when I heard people say this, man, it's amazing how Christianity spread all around the world. Just from this one little place, it spread all around the world. It was a miracle. No, it wasn't a miracle. Like Pastor Kelly, it was a world war. Exactly. It was a conquest. Correct. Can you imagine the indigenous Indians over in some island over in the Central or South America, and they're minding their own business, weaving baskets, fishing, having a good old time, and then here comes this ship coming out of the mist with these people, and they roll up, they get out, and what they do is that one of the gentlemen, he takes out this scroll, and he unfurls this scroll, and he starts speaking words that you can't understand, because of course he's speaking the words of his native language, and he's not speaking your language. But in his native language, basically he's reading a decree that was given to him by the Pope. And this Pope, and within this decree, it's a decree to the natives that we have come under the authority of the Pope, who have given us your land. And basically, just to kind of sum it up, it says something to the effect of, you can either, observe our religion, or if you don't, then you would be subjected to slavery, persecution. And it said, in any of the bad things that and even unaliving was one of the possibilities. And they said that, and if any of these bad things happen, it's your fault. And that was all part of that little scroll. And the Pope had given them indulgences. Basically, they given them a blank check that said, you can do whatever you need to do to subdue these realms, and all your sins will be forgiven. And that's what the Pope did. And that's how Christianity was spread all around the world. It wasn't some miraculous event. It was an invasion. It was a slaughter. You talk about when they came up to some cities, when you read the old books, and this is one of the things I tell people, family, you need to read the old books. The new books are sanitized. The new books won't tell you what really happened, but the old books, where the publication dates are from the 1850s or older, where when you take a look at the books, and those books are, the pages are yellowed and they're kind of tattered and stuff like that, those books will tell you, family, what really went down. And in fact, like one of the books called America Being the Most Accurate Description of the New World by John Ogilvy, that book actually outlined about how it literally talked about how when the Spanish came over, they were unaliving people to such a scale that some of the people, even back home in Spain, were complaining. They was like, whoa, we didn't know y'all was going to knock out all this much. And they were talking about, when they talked about how many people they unalived, it was in the millions. They were estimating in the millions, family, not thousands, millions. So you thought Gaza was bad, family. When they showed up over here, it was 10 times worse. And it was the church. It was the Pope that did that thing, that authorized it. And of course, these countries that were under his control carried it out. So this is how Christianity was spread all the way around the world. And then, of course, once they do that, they put in their doctrine. They replace the Messiah, like I told you before. Like the title of the Pope is called, the Pontiff Vicus, or the Vicar of Christ. It's called the Vicar of Christ, which means the replacement of Christ. And some people from today's church have said, whoa, I'm Baptist today. That wasn't me. Or they say, I'm Protestant. That wasn't me. I'm Seventh-day Adventist. That wasn't me, family. If you were to get into a time machine and go back to the time where Christianity was being spread across the world, and they were unaliving people by the millions, family, there was no Baptist, there was no Protestant, there was no Seventh-day Adventist. There was only one church. And that church was headed by the Pope, who called himself the replacement of Christ. And they rolled across the country like a locust, consuming everything. And also what they did was that they rewrote doctrine. You want to figure out, like, where did this rapture doctrine come from? It came from them. Like Pastor Kelly was telling you, it came from them. They replaced Israel. They took out the law, statutes, and commandments. That's what they did. And so I know I just said a whole lot, family, but I just wanted you to realize that some of the stuff that we hear today, like when we hear things like, oh man, you guys are, you black Hebrew Israelites, or you guys are getting into that Old Testament family. This is where that ignorant of history that I'm telling you about is a drug, because they don't know that, one, that the very first slaves that came over here to this country, they referred to themselves as Israel. They tried to observe the Shabbat, but unfortunately, family, they were underneath the control of their slave masters. They were forced to observe the religion of their slave masters, and then they were taught in the religion of their slave masters. That's why African American, so-called Black African America, believes what we believe today. It's because of what we learned when we were in slavery. The whole reason why we went to church, why you go to church on Sunday, is because your master went to church on Sunday. The whole reason why you're sitting down and looking formal, when you go walk into a church and all the seats are in a row and everybody's sitting all nice and neat, and then when praise and worship comes out, everybody claps and everyone stands up, stuff like that. You weren't doing that when you came across on that ship, on that boat. Ola Uda Equiano, I know we had our sister from Igbo. He was an Igbo brother. In his book, in Ola Uda Equiano's book, he talks about how his people prayed, how his people worshiped, and it was nothing like the worship you see on Sunday morning, or even in some of the Israelite camps. It was nothing like that, family. So I guess I said all that to say, family, that a lot has changed. Israel has been replaced. Which is impacting, these prophecies and this interpretation of being taken out and left behind, and all this other stuff. Was up as down, was right as left. Everything is turned on its heel right now. And the recommendation I give you, family, is start back from the beginning. Press reset button. Let's go back. Let's figure out who Israel is. Once you get that figured out, then what you'll do is that you'll figure out the stuff that Pastor Kelly was reading about before about when after the tribulation of those days, you will know that, oh, wait a minute, that might be talking about the transatlantic slave trade war, where millions of people were unalived. That's what that was talking about, because on this side of the transatlantic slave trade, it's just some notes in the book, and we only know about what happened based off of what we read in the books that was given to us. But if you do your own research, family, you'll find out that the transatlantic slave trade was way worse than anything that you could imagine. People was eating your flesh, cutting off your limbs. I mean, it was horrible, family. And that's why when we look back across history, that's why many of us don't look at the transatlantic slave trade as a tribulation, because we weren't there. So I know I said a whole lot, Pastor Kelly, but I was just saving it up. Oh, I think you're on mute, Pastor Kelly.
You did a great job at just really giving the history and family. Everything that he shared is verifiable and is in his book. He didn't tell us about his book, but I'm reminding him that he do have a book out there, right? So
right.
And that's a great book that I encourage you guys to purchase, because he has all the sources in there, especially what he just pointed out. And that's important for us to understand. And we have someone posted, we got 7 minutes until the rapture countdown. Right? We'll do the 30-second, and then we'll let the people see if anybody start disappearing, right? We may start disappearing by falling asleep, but yeah. Anyway, but let me share something real quick for those that are watching this for the first time. As you keep hearing us refer to the transatlantic slave trade as a world war, which it is, but this is a source here. I show this a lot. Slavery in the Catholic Church, 1975, page 52 through 53. Look at what it says here real quick, family. Papal grants, Pope Papa, right? Papal grants to the kings of Portugal, giving authority to enslave Saracens and other non-Christians of West Africa with whom Christendom is at war. 1452 through 1514. In 1442, a Portuguese captain brought to the Gold Coast some Moorish prisoners of war, exchanged them for 10 Negro slaves. These terms are important, but we're not going to get into it right now. It goes on to say, and brought these back to Lisbon. A trading settlement was established at Lagos by 1444. It would appear that by 1452, the Portuguese were anxious to establish their property rights over the newly discovered West African territories. And so Pope Nicholas, Santa Claus, St. Nicholas the Fifth, that's right, Santa Claus family, Pope Nicholas V was approached and was apparently led to believe that these territories of the Guinea coast were inhabited by Saracens and other enemies of Christendom. There is no other explanation of a series of papal documents which applied the well-known contemporary rules of war to this situation in West Africa. Let me read that again. Papal documents which applied the well-known contemporary rules of war. So it wasn't a slave trade. It was a world war. It was a world war, family. Don't allow, as Benaiah pointed out, don't allow these religious systems, our educational system that was forced upon us. Don't allow them to lie to you or continue to lie to you. You think they're going to call the Holocaust, dumb it down for that community? You think they'll tolerate that? But we're the only group of people that the things that we had to go through, we're the ones that are told, get over it. We're the ones that are told, or there's words that are deceptively chosen to minimize the atrocities that we had to go through. Any comments, guys?
Yep. Go ahead, Sister Carol.
I'm sorry. No, you explained that absolutely correct. That's exactly what happened. And we do not understand that the timing of when this happened to our people, that was the beginning of the spreading, that not only in Spain, that they also came down into West Africa doing the exact same thing. So this wasn't just in that one area. It started there, but it also moved them down into the West African areas and did the exact same thing. You have the largest Christian Catholic worshipers in West Africa. In any other country outside of Brazil, you will find that up and down the west coast of Africa behind this edict.
Yep. And to land back on what you were saying, Sister Carol, again, when you read those old books, one of the things that people don't realize is that, when the Spanish or the Portuguese, particularly the Portuguese, they were, claiming their territory on the west coast of Africa. And basically what they did, fam, was that they would set up shop on these islands that were off the coast, right? And they would use them as a beachhead. And so when they set up those islands, they would have their warriors or their conquistadors or whatever they were called. But then they would also have a church. There was also a church on that island. And the church, when you look at the role that they played, they weren't just sitting there giving out scriptures all day. You know what they were doing, family? They were involved in the slave trade. They owned slaves. In fact, when a slave was taken from the west coast of Africa, did you know that they had to break off a little piece for the church that was there? You know what I'm saying? Like they had to pay we call it a fee or a tax for every piece of brown skin that came off that coast. They had to pay it to the church. So I'm telling you, family, it's this rabbit hole goes deep. The Inquisition had little outposts, right, all around the world.
Mhm.
They set up a Inquisition outpost on the west coast of Africa to manage what they would call Judaism on the west coast of Africa.
Yeah.
Why would they have to do that if people weren't trying to observe the law, statutes, and commandments were already there?
I hate to interrupt this program.
Go ahead.
We'll get right back to our regularly scheduled program. So we're going to go ahead and let this 30-second countdown occur.
Ooh.
All right, here we go, family. The 30-second countdown. Here we go.
The timer.
There it is. Hit it right on the nose. Did we time it perfectly, right? We are now into the Rapture 23.
All right.
And here is
Woo-hoo.
Sister Carol's favorite dance. You know, I had to bring the birds out for you and Jay High style.
That's right.
All right, family. So record your stories. We're gonna do something big tomorrow, right? But record your stories.
hey, Pastor Kelly, this might help. This might help our brothers and sisters and the Christian brothers out there lurking in the shadows. You know, I laid out some rapture symptoms for you, just some rapture symptoms, just in case, you know, you want to know if you're about to get taken up. If you know, in case you might feel some tingles in your extremities, you might feel, you know, your fingers and toes might start tingling, and you might think that's the rapture. No, that might be your blood sugar. Just check your blood sugar first, just to make sure you're okay. And then as you're sitting there at work and you're typing on your computer, your eyes might start to get heavy. And maybe you're thinking, oh, this is it. The curtains are getting ready to roll back. Or reality, I'm about to see the kingdom. No, you might be tired. I'm just saying, just take a nap. Just take a nap first. And then if that persists, then that might be the rapture. And then the other thing, family, is if your skin, if you're just sitting there and you're waiting on that angel, that trump the sound and to get caught up, and your skin might start to feel a little itchy. You're like, oh, that's that skin about to come off. Hold on now. This might be it. No, you might be a little dirty. Just take a shower. That's a sign to take a shower, to get to wash up. That's all that is. So that's all I got, Pastor Kid. I just wanted to make sure that everybody had their rapture symptom toolkit. You know, just go by that, and that'll help you get through the rapture today.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. And real quick, family, because I like to give sources. 2 sources I want to share here. This is the Encyclopedia of the Diaspora, Yale University, page 9. Look at what you see on the screen. It has Ethiopian Jews listed as what? Israel. You see Afro-Palestinians as who? Israel. You see Afro-Americans listed as who? Israel. And let me zoom it in so that way no one can say, well, Pastor Kelly just, you know, he's not representing the sources correctly. Let me zoom it here. Afro-Palestinians, right? Afro-Palestinians, Ethiopians, Afro-Americans. Look at that. Israel, and what? Israel. All right. One last source. Still within that same source. The Encyclopedia of the Diaspora, Yale University. One last portion I want to share in here. Excuse the images in the back, but anyway. But look at what it talks about. It talks about the Portuguese Inquisition, but it talks about the Bene Israel may have arrived in the 5th or 6th century. Some sources say the 3rd century, but this is Israelites, not the 1948ers. These are our brothers and sisters who arrived in this area, India, which is actually was called East Ethiopia. That's right, family. So it says here that they arrived in the 6th century from Persia or the Middle East, joined by, do you see the word Jews, of course, who had come from Iberia after the exile. But then it says here, when the Portuguese Inquisition came to India, they fled south and established new settlements in the 16th century and built the Paradisi synagogue. Now, this is where you get into the Caucasians that follow behind 1,000 years later, basically. In the 16th century, they came up into this area and they began to treat our people a certain kind of way. So the white Jews of Cochin or Cochin, however you want to pronounce it, while the original group who had darker skin were known as Black Jews. So the original group in the 4th, 5th century, they were known as Black Jews. They were the original people. But then when those Europeans showed up, right, they began to create their own, as you see here, place of worship. Look at this here. As in Cochin or Cochin, white, Beni Israel distinguished themselves from black ones, imitating the Hindu caste system. They would, so, oh man, I didn't have my screen all the way up, but it is what it is, family. But that's what this is saying here. And look at what it says here. I'll zoom this in real quick. I thought I had my screen zoomed in. My apologies. The footnotes here of this section, Paul Berman writes that it was sometimes believed that Palestinian skin tone was darker than that of the Israeli Jews, as if in pigmental confirmation of the proposed new link between Palestinians and who? African Americans, basically saying that the original Palestinians, we're dealing with the Afro-Palestinians, they were what? Negroes. All right. With that being said, any final words? I know you guys are celebrating here. Got your confetti going on. Any final words? Start with you, Sister Carol.
I wanted you to explain in Scripture in Matthew 24, the one is taken and one is left. I think people really do not understand what that scripture is talking about.
See, that is getting into the explanation of, how bad things will get, right? And that's rapture, right? Picture this. And it's written, stories written about this. Brothers going out to do whatever for their tribes and return home. Think about that, family. Brothers go out, do something for the tribe, or one gets snatched up while the other is remaining left behind. That happened over and over and over with our brothers and sisters, with our ancestors. Still happening today. So that's if we want to put a rapture on that's kidnapping, right?
Right.
That is rape, enslavement. All right. I know I could go a little deeper into that, but I know it's getting kind of late for us, at least for me. But we'll open that up this weekend, or when we maybe tomorrow or later on today, so to speak, with some surprises we got going on, right, Benaiah?
Yep. I'm getting my tools together.
All right. All right. So with that being said, anything that you want to add, Sister Carol?
No, that's it. I just wanted you to bring that up. I meant to bring that up earlier. We were talking about something else and I forgot. So I had to recircle back to that.
I'm on. And it's a couple of people here. I'm gonna play a couple of their videos before I close out. They said if they're gonna do videos if they're wrong, and we'll see if they're gonna do that.
Oh yes.
But we'll see we'll monitor them. Anything you want to share, Benaiah?
No, just looking forward, most high willing, to like you said, just observing the day, see how people react to it. And as the day goes on, and just kind of hearing that commentary from folks that were so adamant about today being the day and stuff like that. So yeah, just looking forward to it. Just want to see how how the church reacts to it.
I'm on. So with that being said, family, you heard it. Hope you guys really enjoyed this this presentation, this live. Got more to come. Hallelujah. We're going to track what's going on throughout the day on who disappeared. Okay. All right. So we're going to keep you posted. We're going to record it and all. All right. We're going to keep you guys posted. All right. So with that being said, in the words of Yahweh in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14, fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today would never have power over you ever again. The Most High will fight for you. But here's the kicker, family. We have to hold our peace. Can't go back. Can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
I have tried to record this video like 10 times. I feel like it's time for me to step away from TikTok. I feel like my story is over. I have been so blessed by this, and the Lord has done so much, and I'm so grateful to have been his vessel. And you guys already know, I truly believe with all my heart we will be raptured during Feast of Trumpets this year. If there is some chance that we don't get raptured, I will come back and make an apology video for myself being deceived.
Today is September 22nd. I'm in Australia. That means I'm one day out from September 23rd. The big day we've all been waiting for, to see what will happen. And everyone wants to know, what will I do if the rapture doesn't happen? I've been avoiding it for the most part, but I was always going to address it. I think it might just be the #1 most frequently asked question in my comment section these past couple of months, especially these last couple of weeks. For some people, it's been a question of genuine concern. That's very few people though. Genuine concern for me, a small minority of people, which I appreciate. I appreciate those people. For a lot of people, it's been a question of my character. What's he going to do? Is he going to be honest and open and admit that he was deceived? If the 23rd and 24th of September comes and goes by and I'm still here, on the 25th of September, if I'm still here, I will upload an apology video to everyone that I convinced there was going to be a rapture.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14 verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was Abraham, born in the city of a black man called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was the... Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.